Welcome to the world of Terraria.
This was just quite fun. I liked it was Futurama. Welcome to the world of tomorrow. Terraria fit. Bada bing, bada boom. And naturally, I thought, what better way of ending it? Because it was a nice way of sort of introducing you to the created character. Because that's always a thing you need to do. You need to, and especially with Terraria, I felt it was worthwhile having a baseline before starting the game. And so I thought I'd just introduce the character, build a house, and then start a series on Terraria. I must go back to Terraria. It was a pretty cool game. Kind of died off a bit now. Minecraft has had a bit of a resurgence, whereas Terraria you don't really see much of anymore. But I think, dare I say it? Yeah, fuck it. I think Terraria was slightly better than Minecraft, if you ask me. Nobody did. Move on. But then tradition dictated that I included a death scene at the end, because as the crash as well. The crash of the thing. 2 years! So all of that happened prior to 2 years worth of content. This was a very basic one. As I explained earlier, a lot of these anniversary ones are, what can I do in After Effects? Let's have a play. And again, you've sort of got, this is actually, funny enough, this is text. Is it really? You've blown my fucking mind now. Yeah, all right. I think this isn't, interesting enough, this is not the Saber plugin, that one. That is just the basic Beam plugin that is just available normally in After Effects. And then this text here is the cylinder method again, the exact same cylinder method that allowed me to build that tunnel. It allowed me to build this sort of thing here because you can manipulate it in 3D space. And you know what? It's genuinely actually mildly impressed me because I don't know specifically how I did it. What I can only assume, because this, despite looking 3D, was again, we've talked about copyright in the past, and this one's a shocker because this one's just straight ripped off of Google. No credit, no understanding of copyright laws back then whatsoever. But this base image of the candle and the 2 cake was an image from Google. And what I did was I added this sort of cylinder text. Now, off the top of my head, I am struggling to know precisely how I got that text to be behind what is a flat image. I can only assume... Let's see. Actually, I think what it is because that text, I'm pointing at it again, fuck's sake. Can't help it. I use a lot of hand motion when discussing things, and it's very difficult not to whilst doing this. But what I think it is you've got, say that R is on 0. I think the cylinder naturally punches that back to, say, -100. These are not exact figures. I'm just making them up as simple things. Theoretically, putting the 2 image, if you crop it down to the appropriate length so that it's not covering that, you could probably stick that at -50 and therefore get that on the front and that on the back. So that's probably how it was done. The other key thing is the flame there. And that is a key thing, because that, I think, is the first time I tried looking up and doing a flame tutorial in After Effects. And you will note later on, I have used that tutorial again and again to build different flames. When we get to the updated Malice and J Dragon intro, you will see that come to fruition there. But it was relatively lazy. Not only the copywriting infringement, grabbing that 2 randomly from the internet, but also just the fact that it's a cylinder and a beam. There's nothing spectacular, but it was again sort of, I think it was like, it's one of those ones where if I don't have a plan in mind like a month before the anniversary is a rushed affair where I just go, which is exactly what this sort of intro is. But it's again a shatter effect, and then it turns into J Dragon wrapping around my face. It's a nice excuse to just experiment in After Effects, and that's how you sort of learn things to a certain extent. Different shatter effect. Okay, this one is very long and was my Smite intro, where I would be playing Smite. It's okay. Get the words out. Yeah, all right, I'll get the words out, I promise. It's too long. That's the key factor. It's too long. But it's a nice concept. It's a nice idea. And this was when I became slightly obsessed with using the Smite models, because I found out, I believe from an individual called Diiiickkk, he did a lot of this, but I essentially found out that you could take the models from Smite and then use them elsewhere. And so I could, in 3ds Max, dump them in, you could attach the official animations, and then make your own little scene. And so I did, repeatedly. And it was massively entertaining to do, and taught me quite a lot about how these models are made as well, which is quite nice. A lot of these character models have probably been updated since I did this intro for Smite. You can see there quite a very gold. I'm very obsessed with gold, aren't I? Just absolutely obsessed with gold. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a poor little boy, so I'm obsessed with gold. So arms for the poor, boobs for the Aphrodite. But yeah, as I say, it's a nice idea having the characters and then having my initials. But J-Dragon not only is a long fucking word for this sort of idea, the very slow sort of Ares God of War link at the beginning was very slow. There's a wibble to that wall, and I think it's just a visual one. It's just a visual wibble that makes no sense. That was based on the Sleepless Night Batman Lego animation. I absolutely adore that animation, and I suggest you check it out if you have not already. I suggest you check it out again. Sleeves of War's Christmas present, fell off the tree, and pshoosh. This, I suppose, actually, arguably, we should probably address what all of this is. This is 3ds Max. This whole intro was built off of 3ds Max with Premiere editing for jingle bells and sound effects and stuff. Oh, was this? Is it this one? No, it's not. I don't think. Hang on, let me just check when we pan up. Ah, yeah, there we go. Just see if I can catch it. Wait for it. No. Hey, there we go. Just about. Roof runs out there. And I don't know if I ever noticed it back then, possibly after the fact, but when dealing with the rendering and stuff, I never noticed that I didn't put enough roof on. But that kind of gives you this, and the fact that the balls interact, which is unfortunate. But one of those ones where I think that one was an acceptable issue. The roof running out, not so much. I don't think I noticed it. I think the wibble in the texture is as I say, I think that's to do with the rendering, not the actual program itself. Because if you look at that in 3ds Max, it doesn't wibble. It's not got an official like wibbling. I think it is the texture and your eyes that force this idea of it wibbling. I don't know for certain. So yeah, this is all 3ds Max. I think that was a 3ds Max tree. I didn't build my own tree, but I did build all the baubles. And the interesting thing here, okay, so what this is the physics engine in 3ds Max, which allows you to drop it. So what I did, and you'll see this later on in the other Christmas intro as well, what you do is you do that, then you attach the physics engine, and then you put invisible blocks. If you want it to go a certain direction, you put invisible blocks in it, and then the physics engine will trigger off of those invisible blocks. So you can see there, it triggers off of that block in order to just push it slightly further away from the tree, which was quite nice. How to Survive was a very entertaining game. And then these, I'll let it play because it repeats. Particle Effect for Snow, Skies of Acadia, my favourite ever game. Then these were sort of, as I say, these little presents were based on things I'd done that year. So the Star Wars animation I'd done for university. I can't show that on YouTube because it uses the official Star Wars music, which is entirely banned on YouTube, and they get very tetchy with you for showing it. So then again, as I say, physics engine, little block, bounce, bomb. I believe it's a bomb effect I used there. This is a particle effect with just Merry Christmas written in it. It will just churn out as many Merry Christmases as you can possibly imagine it can churn out. You've set it up as a particle system. You can do particle systems in After Effects as well, fun fact. This again was me playing around with Smite models, putting a little base on so that it looked like action figures. And I was quite pleased with these little action figures. I used them again the following year as a sort of this idea of this is a room, this is my Christmas room, and I was going to sort of repeat it over and over again, and to a certain extent I did. Worth noting, made 3D models of this cartridge. Worth noting. Not worth explaining, but worth noting. I think the second Christmas, the next year's Christmas, enhances the models and shows me doing like a 3DS model with a texture that looks like the 3DS cartridge pins area, which I was quite pleased at. That is a bolt pistol from Warhammer 40k, and little interesting fact, that is a motto of the Stormcallers, I believe they were called. The colour scheme is Malus Caliber's Warhammer 40k Space Marines colour scheme. I believe they were called the Stormcallers. This was the iconography I think they featured, and it was all based on his stuff. I did that as a Ready Now live stream video. You'll see later on with my live stream ones, I've got that sort of going live soon video, and I did one for Mr. Caliber. Unfortunately, I don't think he ever used it, because he's technically inept and might be watching this, so maybe be careful. He's not going to watch this, he's a dick. No. But I did build him a video using this bolt pistol that I'd crafted in 3ds Max. And it's quite nice. It's a bit sort of, not the highest of resolutions. You can see there the cylinder is not smooth. But fundamentally quite a nice little, it was a nice little experiment, and to do the sort of cartridges, or bolts I suppose technically. The general idea behind the sort of going live soon video was it shot one of these bolts, and then the bolt bounced off of favoured games of Mr. Caliber until finally revealing that actually it was forming the heptagram, septagram, 7-sided star of his iconography, and then it would pan out and show that in a sort of misty trail that was a particle effect coming off the back of the bullet. Quite a nice sequence. Not that I think it's ever really been seen much. It may have been seen once or twice, but I think he's very, very far behind on his OBS updates, which means inputting video files is very difficult for him. Plus, it's very difficult for him to start a stream less than 20 minutes from the apparent beginning time. You're being a real dick about it today. Yeah, a little bit. Soul's Sword or Soul's Word. We never did find out fully, I don't think. Papers, please. I liked Papers, Please. That's a very good game. Must play that again. There's not a lot else I can tell you about this. 3D modelled boxes for the presents. Oh, and here we are with Spore. That was quite a fun playthrough. Possibly a little bit boring, but this is, again, we're back to Video Copilot. This was a tutorial. You'll see later on in this intro, I use it for the text. But it's an intro that is just essentially crumble out, and I added the laser beam to give justification for why it's crumbling. And then I used the shatter technique. Reasonably slow, low-powered shatter for that one. You can, because obviously all of these techniques you can improve, you can increase and decrease the stats. So you can sometimes have a really punchy explosion using the shatter effect, or you can have that fairly slow shatter effect. And the shatter, I think, is based on the way the debris comes off is shattering as well. This one, it was very long, but it was kind of... It's one of those ones where it was slightly necessary to be this long, because of the concept needed that sort of going from nothing to epic civilization, and you can see sort of like the hat was forming as almost part of the person, and then the beard forming, and then slightly fancier image, and then the space age image to show futuristic era. Conceptually speaking, it's a very nice intro. Factually speaking, it's a bit boring. Emphasis on, wait for it, emphasis on boring, because he's boring into the Earth. Fucking loser. Yeah. Nothing particularly new in there. I think that was just an amalgamation of techniques. Golden Sun on the wall there. Swords. Those swords were based on my university project. In fact, a lot of this is based on my university project. Because I had a guard sword and the main character's sword. Crab cannon was university project. Sometimes best not to ask. The two vehicles there are university-based project, and the little man is a university project as well. Shouldn't you have just said every model there was university project? Yeah, it would have been quicker. But you can see the old figures are on the mantelpiece alongside his new figures. I quite liked the continuity of that idea. You can see again here, Invisible Block pushes it out using the physics engine. And I think it was probably fluke. I think I just manipulated the area of effect that things were until I got it land on its base. Because as I say, I'm fairly certain I just used the physics engine. I did, for the sake of this video, every single one of these intros had that beginning section, but I cut it down because it was exactly the same each time. I was quite pleased with these labels as well. This is all texturing techniques in 3ds Max that here you go. That DS cartridge is really nice, because there's even like the little sort of plasticky dots, because I looked up, again, I frequently look up tutorials. Why wouldn't you? If you don't know how to do something, look up a tutorial, then you'll know how to do it. Seems Which seems reasonably justified, actually, yeah. But there was a tutorial based on building plastic in 3ds Max textures, and you get that little divoty pointy bits and pieces, and it makes for a very nice texture. And I think I have used it post this intro and for different things as well. Loco Cycle, I really need to play that game again. The moment I saw that, I went, oh fuck, I remember that game, it's incredible. I must play it again, it's awesome. So this year, I tell you what, there was a cracking Christmas that year, wasn't it? Fucking all sorts. Granson. Don't know if you're still watching. Hello if you are. I doubt it. Nice NES. SNES cartridge even. But look, yeah, we've got the little dots. Sometimes looking back at these, it's kind of like, fuck me, I was actually moderately good at that. And it's like, it's such a shame I've kind of left it to, languish and die significantly, because looking at that cartridge, you tell me you don't think that's a fucking DS cartridge for reals. And this is one of the best intros I've ever done, because it combines every single thing I have ever done. Because this is 3ds Max 3D modelling, beautifully modelled car, and that was all tutorial again. Most things are, I can't deny it. A lovely bit of smoke. That was, I think, a smoke particle effect in the 3D program itself. Then physics engine style manipulation again. I think I had to slow down a couple of those corners because it didn't look right the way I'd rendered it out, and I couldn't be bothered to re-render it, so I slowed it down dodgily in After Effects. But then you get here, you saw the shatter effect was After Effects. One annoyance we'll address momentarily, but this is all After Effects, I think, because I used a technique that I use frequently. I haven't noticed it before, so this might have been the first time I ever actually used it outside for an actual sort of intro. But there you go, that's the bit I remembered being a direct reference. I didn't remember the car jump being a direct reference to Saints Row 2 from earlier. But okay, so let's track back to one thing. So, okay, here is an interesting little technique that I'm going to say it was Video Copilot. I can't say that with absolute certainty, but I think it was, because most of these are. But you see here, it looks like this. You can see it absolutely clearly. But when it's spinning, you can't necessarily. Like here with the gun. I'm pointing at the fucking screen again. Here with the gun, it blends a little bit more. What that is you set one layer to be, say, 0, and then you back another layer, exactly the same layer, tinted black, back. It doesn't have to be black, I will just point that out. Later on we'll see it was not black in Mortal Kombat. You drop it back, say, -5, and then you copy it again, drop it back -10, and then it sort of gives, as I say, you can see it more in the gun there at a distance, sort of just gives that element of the idea that it's a 3D piece, when it's actually not. It's just several 2D pieces, several completely flat pieces. And, the texturing does help. That metallic texture I got, can't remember how I did that. It's a Photoshop thing somewhere along the line. Probably something to do with beveling and embossing, as I so often do. So we'll drop back all the way to the beginning, because I think it's a cracking intro. This is, I think, yeah, it's that corner. That the reason why it's quite so... Oops, that's not what I'd intended to do. Push the wrong button. Oh, even in a video where you're not even actually playing a fucking game, you're pushing the wrong buttons. So you can see where it sort of suddenly... You can see some motion issues there with the render, but the crucial ones there, you suddenly get this, horrible, the texturing. I mean, a lot of it's based on the fact that my computer couldn't render out textures as highly as it needed to. If you really want proper, hardcore, glossy textures, you'd need a better computer. We'll pause it there, because the thing that bugs me a lot is coming momentarily. But to discuss, I had to slow it down just to make the motion look a bit better. And then we dove off and shattered the screen, and then we come in with these guns. And then the thing that bugs me the most is note the direction this RPG is facing. There's that RPG. Oh, that RPG suddenly come back. So essentially, I've got a boomerang RPG, and that I remember at the time it bugged me and annoyed me, but it was one of those ones where, okay, I want to show the RPG firing. That's fine. That's not a problem. You can show the RPG firing. I then want the RPG to blow up the middle of the screen. Now that's a problem, because the RPG is longer than the side of the screen, so you can't do both. And so I ended up going, oh, all right, I'm going to have it twist round. I think I did try and make it look a bit like it was heading sort of in the distance as well. So there's sort of, it's very close here. And then, oh look, it's a little bit further away, so it's not necessarily just curved directly back on itself, but it's still one of those ones that bugs me slightly. One other thing to note, my obsession with lens flares back then. Everything had a lens flare back then. All my university work, I discovered the lens flare technique and I applied it to practically everything. Then I quite like the fact my head explodes sort of through that gap, and then the spinning and the locking down shockwave technique. That's another video Copilot tutorial, I think, that shockwave. Certainly a shockwave I've used in the future from this point in the past for me has definitely been the shockwave from video Copilot.